Hi, hello. This is Kiefer, and I'm here to tell you how to build every single chord on guitar. In this video, I'm actually just going to walk you through how to build chords from the ground up in my personal favorite way. I'm also going to be going over which strings control which parts of the chord really well, like which string can make it major versus minor, which strings control the sevenths and the color of the chord, all of that. And by the end of the video, my goal is to help you be able to see the neck in a new way, to be able to come up with chord progressions in a different way, and to be able to add some new colors that you maybe haven't tried out before. And so, yeah, if you're a songwriter or composer, I think this might be particularly fun for you as a video, but I think this can be helpful for, again, anybody who's learning how to play guitar. Basically, all of this theory is to help you be able to play any kind of chord anywhere on the neck, and this is sort of an intro to advanced guitar theory. But it can be applicable at any stage of your journey if you're just starting to learn how to play, and if you've been playing for a really long time. I think this is stuff that's always worth going over or going back over wherever you are in your journey. I am going to use a lot of music theory, guitar theory type language though, so if you want something to be clarified or explained differently that I go over in this video, feel free to drop it in the comments and I will absolutely respond. Today we're only going to be using A on our 5th fret on our low string, and we're going to be mainly focusing on these three strings right here: the D string, the G string, and the B string, or strings 3, 4, and 5 if you're a numbers person. I'm not going to talk a lot about the 2nd string or the 6th string, so yeah. I do use my thumb a lot in this video to play the bass notes. And pretty much I use my thumb always to play the bass notes, and I partial bar a lot where I'm not barring the full fret, but I'm barring a few strings at a time. Those are things that I do, but most of these shapes can be done without using your thumb and without using the partial barring and stuff. So if I'm going to leave that up to you to work out, just because that's what I'm used to doing. But yeah, with that being said, let's dive right in. So from where I currently am in my guitar journey, I see the guitar strings in sort of 3 categories. You've got your low 2 strings, your E string and your A string, which really handle the bass notes and usually the roots of the chord or whatever's in the bass of the chord. The middle 2 strings are really where you get a lot of your chord quality from, major, minor, what kind of 7th chord it is, diminished, augmented, all of that really is controlled by those middle 2 strings. And then you can really add some upper structure, color type stuff with the B string and the E string. But like I said earlier, today we'll really be focusing on strings 1, 3, 4, and 5. Those are really where you can just make literally any quality chord with any kind of upper structure added to it, any kind of 7th, any kind of triad quality. So you've got all of the chords that exist at your disposal with just those 4 strings. So for today, again, we're going to be on A, fret 5 of the 1st string, is where my thumb is going to be, or where your bass notes, your root notes are going to be. From there, if you're using your thumb, this is especially true, but your range of motion is about 2 frets below, so like to fret 3. Pretty much with your index finger is the one that can reach that far below. All the way to like 2 or even 3 frets above. And some people might even be able to go 3 frets below, but I can really do a solid 2 frets below and 3 frets above. And so that's 5 frets across 3 strings, which gives you over an octave's worth of notes, maybe even 2 octaves. So that's when I say you can make any chord quality with these 3 strings, with a bass note and those 3 strings. That's what I'm talking about, is you've got so many note options and ways to combine them at your disposal from right there. Talking about how to build a chord, if you've never studied music theory or anything before and you hear people throwing out like, give me an A dominant 7 and a B diminished, whatever, half diminished, augmented 4th, all of those things that you've probably heard before and you're like, what the hell are they talking about? Building a chord literally on guitar consists of 2 things. You have your bass note and then the quality of the chord that you're building on top of it. If you can memorize all your bass notes, so like on the low string, you've got E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, all the way up the neck. If you can memorize those notes in those spots, that's half the battle. And then memorizing how to play, the major triad shape, or then the minor triad shape, or the major 7 shape, the dominant 7 shape, all of those things, that's how you kind of memorize and grow your arsenal of chords. So if someone were to say, an A major chord, You know, I played an A in the bass with my thumb, and I put a major chord shape in the strings 3, 4, and 5 on top of that. So that's A major. A minor, same thing. A in the bass, minor chord shape over that. So let's start there actually with the A major chord. And the fret order there is 5, 7, 6, 5. And I'm gonna call out frets always with the first string, then the third string, then the fourth string, then the fifth string. So in that order, it's 5, 7, 6, 5. And that is an A major. And that shape can be applied anywhere. So if I told you to play a B major chord, you put your thumb on B in the bass, which is fret 7, and you do the same thing. It becomes 7, 9, 8, 7 instead of 5, 7, 6, 5. If this is so many numbers or whatever, you can rewatch the video, you can pause if you need to at any point, all of that. I understand sometimes the information can be overwhelming. The minor shape, you let your G string go down 1/2 step. So we were 5, 7, 6, 5, and now we are 5, 7, 5, 5. And that's the minor shape. So if I said play a B minor, you would play a B, fret 7 on the bass, and then that same shape. So a lot of this isn't about memorizing every chord has its assigned numbers. You memorize the shape, and then you just do that at whatever the bass note is. Those were just the triads, right? There was no sevenths, there was no upper structure, 9th, 11th, 13th action happening. That was straight up, 1, 3, and 5. 1, 3, 5. The only thing that changed between those two shapes was the G string, string 4. So that string is really good at controlling that first inner harmony, the third. And like I said earlier with your range of motion, you can actually, if you use your index finger on that string, reach down to what ends up being a minor second or a minor ninth from the root. So you've got that going in that direction. And if you reach up there, that's like an augmented fourth from the root. So the G string, when you're playing these shapes, really controls that inner harmony, the seconds through the fourths. And so obviously a lot of the time you're going to be just hovering around whether or not it's a major third or a minor third, but you can also reach down at times. Like that's just an add 9 with no third in there. That can be a really sweet chord. That's an augmented fourth added. That's really good. This is just a normal kind of sus 4 chord. So there's lots of options. That was all just changing what I was playing on the G string. The E string, the D string, and the B string were all 5, 7, 5 that entire time. So then we get into, okay, we've done our triads. Do we want to add maybe a seventh to our chord? Sevenths are really, really well controlled on the D string, for example. There's our major triad. But if we want to make it a seventh, we just take our D string, which is currently on 7, and we lower it 1 fret. And there's our major 7. And now we've got 5, 6, 6, 5. And if we want to make it a dominant 7, we just lower that string 1 more time. There's our flat 7, still on a major triad because our G string is still on 6. If we lower it 1 more time, we even can go to a 6, and then 1 more time we've got a flat 6. Ooh, that's a sweet one right there. I don't even know what that is. A, F, B, E? What is that? It's really nice is what it is. So you can reach all the way down to like flat 6. A flat 6 above the bass, a minor 6 above the bass, and you can reach all the way up to like an augmented octave, which nobody ever likes to use. I watched a video the other day about minor ninths and augmented octaves that was kind of cool, but I don't use them very often. So when you control your thirds and your sevenths, the fifth becomes implied. So I'm just going to use strings 1, 3, and 4 to make all the kinds of triads and seventh chords that I can think of without even using the B string, which controls the fifth, which we'll talk about in a second. I'm just going to use these 3 strings, and that fifth will kind of be implied in your ear. That's a major triad. There's a major 7th triad, a major 7th chord. Dominant 7th chord, a major chord with an added 6, flat 6. Then the same thing with the minors. There's a minor triad. There's some kind of augmented chord or maybe a minor triad with an added 7th, major 7th. A true minor 7th chord. A diminished, half diminished 7th chord. Well, I guess it depends because we can't hear that 5th, so we don't know if it's half diminished or diminished, but some kind of diminished 7th chord. And then a flat 6, that kind of, to my ear, sounds more like an F chord in first inversion, but that's what you can control just with those 2 strings. And that's not even doing chord shapes that involve your G string going down to like the seconds like we talked about earlier. So now let's talk about the B string. The B string controls the 5th of the chord really, really well. So what I mean by that is we go to our normal A triad again. And our B string controls the 5th. It's automatically on the 5th. On that 5th fret, and it's the 5th of the chord. It can reach up to, there's 5, sharp 5, 6, all the way up to flat 7 really well. And it can actually go down to like 4 as well. You've got all of it at your disposal. You can reach down to 4, reach up to flat 7. That's just a nice, really good range. And that's why I say the B string is where you start to be able to add sort of the upper color. The G string and the D string add the quality of your chords and whether or not it's a 7th chord and all of that. And then the B string kind of adds the color on top. So just a few shapes with everything we've learned so far. There's our major shape. And I'm going to flash chord charts up here instead of just saying fret numbers at you. Major 7th chord. Dominant 7th chord. Add 6, a major add 6. Here's a minor triad. Minor triad, major 7th. Minor 7th chord. Half diminished 7th chord. Fully diminished 7th chord. That chord I did earlier that I can't identify right now that I will have to identify here in a second after the video. It's just really sweet. That's a 13 chord. That's a sharp 5 chord. I've been using this all over the place. This gets used a lot in jazz stuff. That's 4/5. I'm also using this a ton, or a sus chord. I don't know. Leave a comment about what you've heard this chord called. It's essentially a G chord with A in the bass. Yeah, I've heard this called several different things. We can even do some chords that A isn't the root of, so this is nice. You can start messing with some inverted chords. That's an F chord with A in the bass. There's an F9 with A in the bass. That's really sweet. This is sort of like it's like an E7 chord with A in the bass. E over A. It kind of works just really well as like a cadence. You know, where you don't have to put E in the bass. Yeah, that's really nice. That's a chord that's at the very beginning of Neon, if any of you are John Mayer fans. That's just a minor chord with an added 6, straight out of Dorian. So yeah, those are just some shapes you can use. As you get to know a little bit more about chord theory, you can actually just start to throw different notes in the bass over things. Like that's a fun composition technique I've been using. And you can just get really wacky with it, find some new shapes to just kind of call your own and what you really like. I've been using a lot of, like I said, those 4/5 and the sharp 5, the augmented 5 chords. The last thing I'll say for this video is that once you learn all of these shapes, you can kind of learn how to add things like 6ths and 9ths and all the things that you added to your chords as sort of flourishes and melodic things that you can add to your sound. So instead of just playing like a major triad with a 6, you can just play a normal major triad and flourish with that 6th. And you can do that with like sus4s. You don't have to just play a sus4 right into a resolution. You can. So all of this kind of comes with time, learning the neck. You can do it with the 7ths too. You can just kind of learn how to make your chords and your progressions and your playing just a little bit more interesting. It's just some flair that you can add. Let me know if there's anything you want clarified in the comments, and I'll be happy to, you know, say some stuff in the comments, and then let me know what other videos you'd like to see made, and hit that like button and subscribe. I've never done this before, but like and subscribe, I guess, and tell your friends. Woo! All right, bye guys.